The inscription on the tomb of Aeneas' nurse, who is now buried in a marble urn, simply reads, "Aeneas, my foster child of proven piety, burned me, Caïda, saved from the flames of Argive, with the fire I deserve." They loosened the mooring rope from the grassy bank and set sail. They left behind the cunning ways and dwelling of the goddess Circe, of whom they had heard such a terrible report. They sailed towards the groves where the Tiber River, darkened by the shade of trees, meets the sea with its yellow sands. Aeneas eventually reached the house and daughter of Latinus, son of Faunus. However, his arrival wasn't peaceful. A fierce war erupted with a neighboring nation. Turnus, who was angry because Lavinia, his betrothed, was promised to Aeneas, waged war against them. All of Etruria joined Latium in the battle, and for a long time, victory was undecided as both sides fought fiercely. Each side sought to strengthen their forces with foreign allies. Many joined the Rutulians, while many others sided with the Trojans. It turned out that Aeneas' visit to Evander wasn't in vain. However, Venulus' mission to the great city built by the exiled Diomedes was unsuccessful. Diomedes had established a very large city under the rule of Apulian and held the lands given to him as a dowry. After Venulus delivered Turnus' message and requested assistance, the Aetolian hero, Diomedes, offered a weak excuse. He claimed he didn't want to involve his father-in-law's people in another war and that he had no soldiers from his own homeland to spare. "And so that you won't think this is just an excuse, even though it renews my grief at the bitter memory, I will endure recounting it," Diomedes continued. After Troy was burned and Pergamus fueled the Greek flames, and the Neritan hero, meaning Odysseus, took revenge on all of us for his stolen bride, even though he was the only one who deserved punishment, we were scattered and driven by the winds over hostile seas. We Greeks had to endure lightning, darkness, rain, and the wrath of both the heavens and the sea. Caphareus, the storm we encountered, became the ultimate misery. I don't want to delay you with a detailed account of these sad events, but Greece, at that time, would have appeared worthy of a tear even to Priam, the Trojan king. Yet, the care of the armed forces preserved me, rescued from the waves. Once again, I was forced to leave Argos, my ancestral land. The friendly Aphrodite demanded retribution for her previous injury. I suffered immense hardships on the vast sea and equally on land, to the point where I often considered those swallowed by the universal storm and threatening waves at Caphareus to be fortunate. I wished I had been one of them. My companions, having endured the worst in both war and at sea, lost their spirit and demanded an end to their journey. However, Agmon, a man of fiery temperament and further embittered by misfortunes, said, "What else is left for you men to endure? What more can Cytherea, Aphrodite, assuming she wants to, do beyond this? As long as greater evils are feared, there is room for prayers. But when one's fate is the most miserable possible, fear is trampled underfoot, and the extreme misfortune is free from worries. Let Aphrodite herself hear it if she wants. Let her continue to hate, as she does, all the men under Diomedes' rule. Yet we all despise her hatred, and this great power of ours is bought at a high price." Agmon of Pleuron, with such words, provokes Aphrodite against her will, rekindling her previous anger. His words are approved by a few. We, the majority of his friends, rebuke Agmon. As he is preparing to respond, his voice and its passage diminish together. His hair transforms into feathers. His newly formed neck, chest, and back are covered with down. His arms develop longer feathers, and his elbows curve out into light wings. A large part of his foot develops toes. His mouth becomes stiff and hard with horn, ending in a point. Lycus, Idas, Nictus, Retiner, and Abbas are all astounded at him, and while they are astounded, they take on a similar form, and the majority of my company fly off, their wings flapping around the oars. If you were to ask what was the form of these birds so suddenly created, although it was not that of swans, it was close to that of white swans. With difficulty, I, the son-in-law of Iapygian Donis, possess these dwellings and the parched fields with a very small remainder of my companions. Up to this point, the grandson of Ennius spoke. Venulus leaves the realms of Calydon and the bays of Pucetia and the fields of Messapia. In these places, he comes across a cavern, which is overshadowed by a dense grove and has a smooth stream trickling through it. This cavern is occupied by the half-goat god Pan, but once upon a time, it was inhabited by the nymphs. An Apulian shepherd frightened them, driving them away from that spot. At first, he terrified them with sudden fear. Later, when they regained their composure and scorned him as he pursued them, they formed dances, moving their feet rhythmically. The shepherd insulted them, mimicking them with grotesque leaps. He added rustic insults in vulgar language. He did not stop speaking until a growing tree closed his throat. But from this tree and its sap, you can understand his manners. For the wild olive, with its bitter berries, signifies the disgrace of his tongue. The coarseness of his words passed into them.